Good afternoon to all those that have just joined us. Thank you for joining us today for our Women in Tech Week. Today's session, we are looking at data analyst. So thank you for those who are joining. My name's Leanne Sane. I am the Senior Account Manager at Just IT Apprenticeships. And for those who are not sure about Just IT, we are a training and apprenticeship provider. And we're passionate about developing and progressing of people through an apprenticeship program. I'll be joined today by my colleague Nina, who will be managing the chat function. So if you've got any questions at all throughout the session, please do pop them in the chat. Depending on the volume of questions, we will do our best to answer them all today. However, if we don't get round to them, we will follow up with an email after the session answering your questions. So this week is our Women in Tech Week. And given that women are underrepresented in the technology sector, we have hosted, this being our final one, daily webinars over the next daily webinars to inspire women to consider a career in IT and to be informed on what a career in tech looks like. And for you to hopefully get more information and advice from some of our amazing panelists that we've got joining us today, who will be discussing their careers and journeys so far in data analyst. We also have Nikki, who is our business coach who delivers the data apprenticeship program, who will give you an overview of the program. So firstly, I would like to introduce our panelists. We've got Jade, who's the planning centre manager with GIST. We've got Akua, who's a senior analyst with London Stock Exchange. And we've got Laura, who's head of data science at Pearson. We will also be speaking to Joanna, who is currently on a data analyst apprenticeship. And as I said, we'll also get an overview of the data analyst apprenticeship program from Nikki, our business coach. So some of you on the call will be school leavers looking to take your first career steps. Some of you will be potential career changers. We aim to make this webinar of interest to you all. So first up, we would like to go to our panelists. And as I said, if you've got any questions, please pop it in the chat and we'll do our best to get them answered for you today. So I'd like to introduce firstly, Jade. Jade, you are currently planning centre manager with GIST. Just if you could give us an overview of your journey so far. Yep. And how you got into the data industry.
Yeah, so hi everyone, nice to meet you all. So yeah, I'm Jade and I'm the planning centre manager at GIST. So GIST is a logistics company specialising in temperature controlled distribution in the grocery and food service sectors. So I have worked in a variety of roles within GIST over the past 6 years, since joining the company as a consulting industrial placement student. So within my current role, I look after a team of 13 people, 2 planning managers and 11 planners, and we plan the day-to-day running of food deliveries into one of the UK's leading retailers. So out of 8 regional distribution centres into over 1,000 food stores within the UK. On a daily basis. I use data continuously within my role. So on a daily basis, I get asked questions from internal or external stakeholders. That could be in terms of network efficiencies, etc. And I use Excel to model the answers and also to make sure that we're making the most effective decisions that we can do on a daily basis. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And was a career in data something you wanted to do when you finished school, or?
So I've always been really interested in IT. So I did it as a GCSE subject and also at A level. And I also picked a career choice. So I did management sciences at Loughborough University that had a very data analysis focus to it. I think what really made me realise that it was the right career choice for me was when I became a digital placement student at GIST. So I joined originally within the consulting team, working on quite a lot of new business tenders. And from there, I really honed my data analysis skills using Excel and presentations, etc., that have stood me in good stead for all the future jobs that I've had since. So.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. So now we'd like to speak to Akua, who is a senior analyst at London Stock Exchange. And again, the same to you, please. If you could just give us a overview of your journey, the role you do now, and how you got there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here this afternoon, and happy Friday to you all. We've made it to the end of the week.
Happy Friday.
My name is Akua, and I work as a senior analyst at the London Stock Exchange Group. I've been working here for nearly 3 years now. Yeah, my 3rd year anniversary is actually coming up here. And in terms of my whole journey and what I do at the London Stock Exchange Group, which I'll call LSEG, just because it just is quite long-winded to say the name every time. But I work kind of in the desktop support team here, but we've got a massive kind of technology area at the London Stock Exchange Group. So in my area, I come under infrastructure and cloud. So we support the day-to-day running of systems. We use a Citrix-based system, which is kind of like a virtual desktop, but we also work with different technologies from Google Cloud Services, also Microsoft Azure platform, and also Amazon Web Services. So those are the kind of 3 big players in the cloud computing environment at the moment. And in terms of my day-to-day role, it could be anything from hardware supporting video conference systems, supporting with applications. And we use a kind of ticketing platform to do our requests and incidents on a daily basis. With the London Stock Exchange Group itself, it's changed so much even since the time I've been here. So just a bit of context on the London Stock Exchange, that's where a lot of companies trade and list themselves. So that we look at things like share prices. We also have a daily market open and close. So let's say a company wants to list themselves on the stock exchange, for instance, like recently we've had ASOS Delivery, for instance, Uber Eats and some other companies like Moonpig, they would come and do a really big elaborate ceremony on our first floor area. So you get a lot of people standing and congregating on the first floor, and then there's a countdown and you see it like kind of stream down, and then it kind of comes up with a sign to say they've joined the stock exchange, and also it gives details on the share prices, and it's really good fun. And also the market close is a similar concept when we're doing big events around even diversity inclusion topics, like even for instance like with STEMETS or getting more women in tech, for instance, we would have everyone congregate on the balcony again, do a countdown timer, and then everything on a cube and the share prices drop off the main screens. So it can be quite fun and great to watch. And then in terms of my journey in tech, it started like about 14 odd years ago, so I would say, or a bit longer than that without showing my age. And I initially wanted to be a pediatrician. And then when I got to the stage of going into college, I studied business studies, sociology, arts, religious studies, philosophy. And then I really wanted to join the army and do like emergency response and then kind of IT intelligence there. But my family didn't want me to join the army. So I took a different route and did a 4-year degree program, did a placement at Rolls-Royce Motor Cars, and then I went into different technology roles from system support, infrastructure, and then where I am today. So it's been quite varied, but I still have an angling to work in some capacity with the army in the future. But yeah, it's been a kind of interesting journey, but I do enjoy it because you learn so much and technology is always evolving. So you can diversify into another area of technology. It's no set in stone. So like every day is a learning opportunity, and you get to work with different individuals across the business. And I think actually being in technology, you get to communicate and collaborate with more people across the business as well, because you've got different stakeholders and different levels of the business you need to talk to on a daily basis. So it's been an enjoyable experience, I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And you mentioned you wanted to go down a completely different route, and then you went to university, and then you got into tech. Was that a conscientious move you made, or was it just something that you discovered you had strengths and skills in?
Yeah, I would say that I have always been like quite technical, even since I was a kid. Like at home, I was always like playing with stuff, like I was changing freezers, anything like that from a young age. And my mum would always say to me, like, when you move out, you're pretty good, because like you could fix anything at home basically. So I was quite technically minded and always like on the computer or a tablet and things like that. So I've always had that kind of technical mindset, but then I just think like it changed a bit over time, just because of where my kind of interests lie. Because I would say with a job, you should do what you're also passionate and interested in, because that helps. It keeps you motivated to do the actual role. Yeah,
I totally agree. Now also, Akua, something you on your profile on LinkedIn, you are advocate of, and I've seen you post about, is the neurodiversity. And I just wondered if you could touch base on that, of why you're passionate about that and why you promote that so much.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of neurodiversity, it was a term coined by a lady called Judy Singer, who's based in Australia, back in, I think, 1995 or so. And what neurodiversity is kind of like cognitive processing. So how someone learns something. So for instance, we have sometimes a person that's more of a visual learner. There's other people that when they're learning, or individuals, I would say, they kind of like can read a lot of text and they can take it in all that way. But in terms of neurodiversity, it's kind of a spectrum of about 8 to 10 different kind of, I would say, invisible like disabilities per se. So for instance, you could be dyslexic, you could have ADHD, ADD, autism. So it's kind of like, yeah, just how your mind processes things. And why I'm so big on it is because if you're neurodiverse, you have different social cues from others. For instance, like sometimes you can't have back-to-back meetings, or even you have to structure your day based on something like time boxing or Pomodoro technique. So you put in focus sessions throughout the day. And it's quite important because you're trying to make an inclusive environment, whether you're in a school environment or the workplace, because it reflects in different areas. And it's kind of like, it's so important, because even I found out that I had dyslexia and ADD last year. So I've gone through my primary school, secondary school, college years, university, and I didn't get that extra level of support. And I would never say that it's hindered me. I sometimes say it's my superpower. Some people don't like using that word, but it is a superpower, because I feel like it gives me insight to other things maybe other individuals might not see. And also, I'm a type of person that I'm always brainstorming. I'm always thinking outside the box on various other things. And I kind of have been promoting this a lot, not just in LSEG, but also outside, because I just want people to feel like they have a voice, and they can also not feel like ashamed, or like that if they can't do something, it's because of this reason or that reason. Everyone needs an opportunity to thrive and be the best version of themselves. So I think it's so important to keep having these discussions, and really, like, from whether it's a school perspective or workplace, to understand your colleagues. Like, if they work a different way, understand why. Go for coffee chats where you see maybe a colleague or a friend or someone sitting by themselves, understand why, because that's the only way you'll learn about these topics and be able to help them in the future.
Amazing. And so what advice would you give to women and also people who have the additional learning needs that you mentioned, what advice would you give to them about how to start their career in the tech industry?
Yeah, I would say you got to sometimes be honest, and if you kind of need help, ask for it. And also, especially if you're not neurodiverse and you're struggling in terms of learning, etc., there's so many great organizations out there that could help you, and you can also get a neurodiversity coach as well. And I would say that, yeah, definitely speak to, if you're in a school, speak to like the HR team, because they do make a lot of accommodations. And why I say that, so my friend wouldn't mind me saying this because I'm not revealing her name, but one of my friends, she's currently studying her master's, and she recently found out that she was dyslexic and had ADHD. And so from her, like, recently finding out about, she reached out to like the student union and also the HR team there, and spoke to also the faculty department, and they helped put in accommodations. So whether it was assistive technology or even the case of more time for essay writing, because sometimes you'll need that, and also for exams, because it's like, for instance, when you're reading some form of text or a lot of text, it's not that easy the first time round. You might have to read it like twice after that. So having the extra half an hour or hour to adjust helps you out a lot, because then you don't have that level of anxiety, feel anxious when you're in the exam room as well. So it's so important to reach out about it and get the assistance you need.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
No.
So next we're going to speak to Laura, who's head of data science for Pearson. So firstly, thank you for joining us, Laura.
Thank you, Leanne.
Hello. And again, if we could just have a overview of your journey to date, and what interests you about the data industry? What is it that keeps you passionate about it and involved in it?
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm absolutely in awe of everybody on the panel. So I don't, they've set a very, very high threshold for me to try and carry on and extend on. But in terms of my background, I originally did information management, similar to Jade. I'm an ex-Loughborough alum. So yeah, I very much enjoyed it. And without showing my age too much either, this was sort of just post Google. So actually this was really when we were grappling with digitization. What did it look like? You know, and really where data sat, where were we placing all of our information, what we were trying to do with it. So I'm not going to take any responsibility for Google whatsoever, but the car crash that we now have with big data is amazing. And like I said, that's really where my background stemmed from. So I did some research. I was very much involved in how we were grappling with that, how tech was influencing our way of life, and how we were sort of doing that in practice. And then after I finished my PhD, which I very much enjoyed, I moved into education, and I've been teaching since. And actually one of the big things that I focus on now is how we're making data and tech more accessible to everybody. So to answer your question, Leanne, you know, why am I still motivated? What is it that I'm doing? I do think that there's a huge amount of myth busting that needs to happen to make data accessible. This isn't something that's out of anybody's reach, and actually there's a role that we all play in unpacking that by talking with you about our jobs, what it is we do, how we fell into this. And like I say, you know, I'm a huge fan of hearing a lot around what women are doing. I was very fortunate to be Tech Women 100 award winner in 2020, and now I work with the UN Women Network, and I was recently a delegate at a commission recently, and again, amazing. Really excellent examples of seeing what women are doing to help each other move forward in lots of different areas in society, but actually the value of understanding tech, data and education in this space is really, really important for us all moving forward.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And just on that, one of the things that we've been talking about all week is again, people think it's tech, you've got to have particular skills, you've got to be able to, you know, break a computer down and then build it back up, or you've got to be able to sit in a dark room and know how to code. And what we've been trying to focus on, because a lot of our attendees are either, you know, early into the career, school leaver, college leaver, or want to completely change. And I'm going to ask all of you, and I'll stay with you first, Laura, and then we'll ask the other panelists. What do you think are the soft skills? Like, what skills do you think you've always had that have made you successful in being able to have a career in this area?
You know what, that's a really, really good question. And probably just to share with you, there was a moment, again, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but it was a really important tipping point for me, where somebody shared some information about, and again, I'm speaking very broadly, and this is very much based on averages, but a lot of men will actually apply for roles where they only reach about 50% of the job description or less. So these guys are applying for these roles, and women, on the other hand, we will wait until we see 100% of the job description before we take that leap. So when you talk to me about transferable skills, there's actually, the second, that was when the penny dropped for me, that I didn't need to be ready for everything. I was never going to be ready for everything. And especially in tech, where, with all due respect, they asked for a decade in programming languages or this, that, and the other. Some of these languages haven't been around for a decade. Some of this software hasn't even been around for a decade. So actually, there's a huge piece there about really realizing that, resonating that with yourself, and then taking the leap of faith to say yes. So for me, I would very much say that the difference in my career is I say yes to everything, and I heavily invest in my own learning. Now, as an educator, you might think that's easy, but actually it's not a money thing. This is about time. I invest my time in learning about this so that I have that confidence. But yeah, for me, that was a tipping point.
Good. And just very on that, because we've had one of the questions is there any sort of courses, any say free course? Because I know with digital, you've got Google Ads, Google Analytics. Is there any free courses or any self-learning people can do just to give them a bit more knowledge on data analyst?
Absolutely, and I'm more than happy to share afterwards. There are so many free resources that are absolutely available that will take you. I often call this zero to hero, but it's very much no experience necessary. And what we're also starting to see is a lot of the software platforms are offering this free themselves because they want you to use their platforms. Everything from AWS, Microsoft will now give you free access to all of the platforms and tools. And as I mentioned to lots of people, I often use the analogy of Microsoft Word. We didn't all walk in understanding Microsoft's package. It comes with a bit of experience. So we can teach you how all the buttons work, but we're not going to write an essay for you. We're not going to write the report. So actually, it's all about just making everyone more familiar. So I would say, in terms of free courses, focus on familiarity with these tools. That's how you learn them.
Yeah, if you could share them links, that would be amazing. So Jade, I'm going to ask you again, like the same question. What do you think sort of the soft skills you had or personality traits that you have that have made you and really supported your career in data analyst?
So I'd agree with what Laura said, to be fair, in terms of saying yes to every development opportunity that you get given. Even if you feel like it's taking you out of your comfort zone in the initial, I always find that those are the opportunities that I've learned most from and have been able to step change my career further off the back of them. But I'd say sort of an inquisitive mindset, problem solving, and as well in terms of careers, look broader than just the ones within an IT department. Data analysis is so broad in every single sector, including my own, where my job title doesn't really relate to the data analysis aspect. So just bear it in mind, because those skills are really sought after within the industries. So.
And Akua, again, the same question. Do you think this sort of key soft skills that women may have already that can support and make them successful in this sector?
Yeah, sure. The first one, communication is key. So that's being able to communicate both technical concepts and non-technical because and also both verbal and written, because that's so important when you're working on some kind of project or proposal. Having to communicate to your stakeholders, they're going to come from a view where they don't know everything about the technology, so it's how you translate that language to them for them to understand is really important. I would say teamwork and collaboration, sometimes it's a bit understated, because when you're working in any environment, or even when you're in college or university, sometimes you have to work on projects together. So learning how each one works and what works for that individual, their strengths and weaknesses, helps the actual team as well. And collaboration, it's great because I usually call it like a fun thing, like fusion of minds, or fusion of great minds, because it's like you're in a room, you're bouncing ideas off each other. And even if I bring into that, like let's say for instance, if you work in a kind of agile environment like a scrum team, that's where kind of everyone ticks when you're kind of like collaborating on different topics, and then kind of being adaptable. So like anything can change at any given moment. In technology, we know that things do not always work. We've got to be honest with ourselves. So being able to kind of think like, okay, that's not working today, but always being kind of positive about what can I do to change it? Because you want to be part of, be an optimist, and don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And I think from myself being on or hosting each of these days, the one thing that's come up, Laura, that you mentioned it as well, is that men will look at a job spec, and whether they think they can or can't do the job, they'll go, oh, I'll give it a go anyway. Where women will be like, have I done that? Have I done that? And be really like, oh no, I don't have, like, I only have 99% of the skill set on there, so I won't apply. And I think that's the message that everyone's put over, is don't worry about it, just apply anyway. And I think that's something that we want to look into further for a different time, but is that, why don't we just apply anyway? Because I think I've done the same. I'm like, oh yeah, I can try that, why not? I'm sure I could be an astronaut, who says I can't? So I think that's a message that we want to get through to a lot of women who want a career in tech, is don't worry too much about what the job spec says, just apply anyway. Now, the other question I just want to ask again, each of you, is you've all come from with a degree background. So you've all gone to university and got a degree. Do you think a degree is essential to get a career as a data analyst? I'll start with you, Jade.
No, I don't think it is at all. I think there's lots and lots of different pathways into a career. There's an awful lot of apprenticeships at the moment that are available. I think it just depends on the individual and sort of what route they would like to take, more academic one or learning on the job. And I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. I see lots of people within my business that have gone through loads of different paths to get where they are.
So there is different routes. Fantastic. And again, same to you, Laura.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Jade. I think what I definitely think I'm starting to see more and more of now is that if you see a degree as just that simple static piece of paper with your lovely name on it with some lovely logos, and that's what you wanted, you've missed the opportunity of what that is. I think if you go and study a degree, if you go and do that on the job, it's all experience, and that's the value. So for some people, you know, I'm a diehard. I've got lots of degrees. I'm very, very proud of all of my degrees, but I do them for the experience and to give me a network, to give me an opportunity to meet other like-minded people. That's why I did them. But I also do that in my work alongside that. So I'm a huge advocate for apprenticeships. I think they're excellent. I think they work really well for people. But likewise, if you're a bit of a diehard like me and want to do a degree, great, do it. But get that
whatever
experience.
way. Yeah. And again, Akua, do you feel a degree, you know, is essential, or as Jade and Laura said, there's other pathways in as well, depending on how you sort of learn best?
Yeah, no, definitely agreed that in terms of there's so many other avenues, whether it's apprenticeships, learning on the job, even just getting in some volunteering work as well. There's so many charities that need people with different skills to come in and help. 100%. And there's a couple of summer schools, which I was going to post in the chat as well, that you can just try out, because once you trial them out, if they're 6-8 weeks long, you could see actually, is this right for me? And then once you've done that, then you could decide, oh, okay, like this area I'm not that overly interested in, but I found like, I had an aha moment, and I've actually found something else that kind of like resonates with me as an individual, and go from there. Because yeah, with technology, you can one day be in project management, you could one day be in design, then you could be in programming. It's so diverse, and sometimes the skills overlap into different areas anyway. So don't be kind of too hard on yourself in terms of, oh, this is set in stone. Be kind of flexible to change.
Amazing. That's great. Thank you so much for that. It's just been fascinating listening to your backgrounds and your journeys, and where you've got to into your careers and how you've done it. So thank you for that. So now we're going to shortly be speaking to Nikki, who's our data analyst business coach, and she delivers the apprenticeship programs. So firstly, again, for all apprenticeships, if you're looking for an apprenticeship, whatever route that be, whatever subject you want to do the apprenticeship in, one of the best places to start with is gov.uk. Most apprenticeships are all advertised on there, so have a look on there. They also give you sort of an overview of where it is. They tell you sort of what the job titles are, where the progression routes are, so you can get a lot of information from it. We will be putting the link for the apprenticeship site in the chat as well, so you've got that. So just a little bit about sort of eligibility for an apprenticeship. So you've got to have left school, you've got to be 16, but now there is no upper limit. So you can do an apprenticeship at from 16, any age. So if that's something, if you do think, well, actually I learn best hands-on in a practical environment, it could very well be that an apprenticeship is the route for you. Equally, a lot of companies advertise for junior level roles. So you might not want to do the training and working at the same time. So there is junior opportunity. So there is lots of opportunities out there. It's just about, I think, what you've all said, find out what best suits you, what supports you in the way that you learn, and finding what pathway to move from there. So now I would like to introduce you to Nikki, who's going to give you an overview of if you were to take a data analyst apprenticeship, what that looks like for you.
Yep.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Leanne. Thanks. I think Leanne has pretty much covered a lot of, especially what an apprenticeship is. And also, I just wanted to expand on that question where you said you don't need a degree to get into a career with tech, because if you go through an apprenticeship, you do get the learning, and you also get the application where you learn stuff and you apply what you've learned within your job spec. So I think this is a really good pathway to go into if you're looking at like don't really want to take a full-on 3-year degree. You can go for an apprenticeship, because a typical duration, as you can see on the slides, it's about 18 months. You can finish it earlier if you are really on the job, but typically it takes 18 months. It feels a bit long, but actually it kind of takes into account your working life, and then just a bit of commitment every single month. That's why it's a bit dragged out. Yeah, so it combines, again, remote learning, on the job experience. So as I said, you learn stuff online through our trainers, and then you apply what you've learned into the portfolio. So that's the kind of like a project that you're going to present to BCS, who is our certification body, British Computer Society. So they are going to be the one who marks your portfolio, who sets the standards and the criteria for you to meet during this apprenticeship. So yeah, who is it for? It can be anyone above, apparently above the age of 16 too. So I have learners in many age groups, like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and anybody who is interested in data, anybody who uses and handles data on a day-to-day basis. Yep, so for the data readiness apprenticeship, it's going to be for roles like data technician, junior level. It's at a level 3 course. So in the next slide, it will be more of the data expert apprenticeship. So the difference between data readiness, data expert will be it's a level 3 versus a level 4. So higher level means it's a bit just more intense. It goes more in depth into the softwares that they teach. So for example, with the data readiness, so the previous one, that will be surface level understanding into the different technologies you have. So, Power BI, SQL, just a bit touching base on the surface. However, if you want to go into a data expert, so that will be the level 4. So that will have like job roles like data analyst, data science, data modeling. So you have those, you go more in depth into, let's say, programming, where you learn about how you create models, how you predict time series and these kind of things. So it's a bit higher level, but it really depends on what your job role is, whether you have lots of exposure to maybe very complex data sets, or maybe you just use Excel on a daily basis. So have a conversation with Just IT, to see what your job role will suit which apprenticeship you can go to. Yeah, also, 20 months. Difference is 18 months, 20 months. I think you can read the slide, but I just want to give like a flavor of what you can expect with the apprenticeship. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Great, thank you so much. And again, we will be putting links to information regarding the apprenticeship if you need any further information on that. So next we're going to speak to Joanna, who has actually got a wealth of experience in data and other areas, but is currently on the data analyst apprenticeship with Just IT to support her role. So firstly, Joanna, thank you for joining us. And again, if you could just give us an overview, because again, you've got a very diverse background and completely different, and then you've gone into data. So if you could just give us an overview of that journey, and also how is the apprenticeship actually supporting you in your role?
Okay, so going back, I've had many admin roles over the years, and kind of settled in a manufacturing industry looking at food safety, and that's where my current role is at the moment. But I've always had a propensity, I always had an interest in data, in tinkering, and I found, someone said this a few months ago and it applied to me, is that I've always been cleaning data. I just never realized that's what it was. So yeah, that's why. So yeah, I started food safety, and then I started getting into from auditing, collating the data that comes from the audits and how we could use that to improve our services. And so I started creating some dashboards, and that's where it all started about 2 years ago. So I've gone a complete career change, really. I'm now sort of transitioning into more data and less food safety, and in the future I will transfer completely to data, and through the apprenticeship as well, which has supported me to do that. It's given me more knowledge and access to more learning than I could ever wish for, and I wish I had more time. Like Laura said, it's a time thing, it's not money, it's time. There's so much out there, and I'm desperate to try and get hold of some more learning. So yeah, that's it. So
good, amazing. And you and was it then, do you think, from sort of the skills that you demonstrated, which then led you into data, do you think that was a natural thing for you? And again, do you think it goes back to that soft skill, where it just naturally comes out that you're good at certain tasks, and it does eventually lead you into that route?
Yes, I've always been had an interest in IT. I've always been the person that people go to when they can't do what they want in a software package. I've always been like the super user to help support other staff. I remember back when I was in 8 or 9. We got a Spectrum for Christmas one year, and I sat there learning to code on a Spectrum. That's giving my age away. But so yeah, and I think also because of the jobs that I've had to deal with members of the public. I've had to talk about different things, and so it's good at trying to understand what people's problems are. So when someone comes with you with a problem, try to understand it for them, and then give them an answer, whether it's a verbal answer or whether it's going to be how you visualize something for them, so that it will give them the answers that they need to go and solve the next part of the problem. So yeah, I think communication is a really, really good one.
Amazing. And so, I mean, in your role, obviously you're doing the management position, you're doing the data analyst apprenticeship, and you're managing 2 data analyst apprentices as well.
Yes.
How do you find that? How do you find managing apprentices whilst undertaking one? Do you think that helps more? Or
they've recently just started in the last couple of weeks, so I'm the first person to do the level 4 apprenticeship within the business, and I've loved it so much and been spreading the word so much that we've now got another 3 people doing it. So, and 2 of those are on my team. So I didn't manage anybody, but now I've got 2 data apprentices, and I think I'm in a really really strong position to help mentor them through their apprenticeship, because I understand what they need to know. Like, so the struggles that I've had to go through with the business, with the IT department, where, you know, we can't use this specific software, I've been through it all now, so I'm in a really good position to be able to help them soar through it and be really successful. So yeah, I'm really excited about the future and how I can help these people on their apprenticeship as well.
Amazing. And I think one of the questions, again, we've been asking all of our panelists throughout the week is, you know, where do you see because I know we seem to be getting a lot more inquiries, and we've got a lot more companies coming to us, particularly since sort of COVID and the pandemic, wanting support within the data side. So it does seem to be developing, and it does seem to be becoming more integral in companies. So I'm going to stay with you, and then I'm going to ask everybody else. Where do you see the data analyst sector moving in the next couple of years, and how would that then give opportunities to women to get involved?
Okay, so on behalf of my company, there's very few data analysts around in our company, so we are a growing breed. We're determined to get a whole army of us, and then we're looking at the next sort of learning, so building a almost like a hierarchy of, so you've got a you know where you're going to go, and the next step of the journey, so learning, so the next apprenticeships. But with the company, we are now looking at how we can be the facilities management company of choice. So we're looking down the automation route and machine learning. So we're really trying to open our eyes and, you know, give us a different, a unique perspective to choose us versus other companies. And I think at the moment, that's what we're looking at. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Good. And Jade, same question to you. Where do you see the data analyst evolving in the next couple of years, and what opportunities does that open up for women?
Yeah, so I feel like it's becoming a more valued skill set. Obviously, lots of companies now are collating masses of data. However, not all companies have yet harnessed the insights that data can give. So within my company, Gist, we've got a host of data that we collect on a daily basis, and it's then harnessing that data to make the correct business decisions through the insights that you can get. And also, are we harnessing technology, the right technology in the right situations as well? And I think as that grows, the opportunities for those type of roles will grow with it. And all I'd say to women who want to get involved in that type of role is just go for it and try it. I don't think I've ever looked back on the decision that I've made and gone, oh, that's the wrong one. I've always learned something. So yeah, just try it.
Yeah. Thank you. And again to you, Laura.
Yeah, do you know what? I wrote down insights and learning were the first two things I wrote down as you were talking. So I agree with Jade. I think just an extension of that, where I see the future going as automation starts improving and we do get there. I think we're going to have a similar thing to what a lot of software developers have now, where programming elements actually largely automated now. So we're having new skill set with DevOps. I think in data, what we're probably going to start shifting to is the human element around storytelling. So how do we take all of these insights and then actually tell a real true story of that? And that brings in communication. That's a whole different heap of skill sets, but not to mention understanding data, but then actually how are we then using it? Why are we using it? And are we presenting it? So I think that would be the next things, she says.
You got a lot of nods there, Laura. So you obviously hit a point there, because everyone literally went, yep. And again, same to you, Akua. Where do you see it progressing over the next couple of years, and what opportunities does that open up for women?
Yeah, it gives, well, it's progressing a lot, because even I've recently seen a couple of people using an application called Tableau, and they've been actually using it to do their actual CVs and resumes. So now it's kind of like, rather than just in the normal kind of Word type of document CVs, a lot more people are doing it. So it goes, it's either on their website or like it's more visual. So then they list all their skills, and also it shows like how competent they are at those skills. And that's really great for someone actually like looking at CVs now, because they got this visual concept of what the individual's like on paper and how well they can perform, like using different kind of skill sets. The other thing as well is a lot more organizations are using kind of things like Power BI and Power Automate just to make a lot more processes quicker. So then like learning those kind of skill sets, which now you can actually learn for free through Microsoft's free training days, and you can actually get the certification paid for through Microsoft. It gives so many people an opportunity to kind of like update their skills and kind of move with the times as well. So as always, like the opportunities are endless. It just depends on, again, what interests you. And I think it's really good as well that some of the organizations like Microsoft, AWS are doing these programs, because it helps to upskill more women into tech and things, and it helps them going forward. And it's great initiatives, because they only started it during the pandemic, and they've actually kept it going because they thought like, look, this is actually a great initiative. And it kind of, it gives that level of competitiveness as well, because I've seen a couple of people doing like learning challenges on LinkedIn, and then it kind of motivates others to learn those new skills as well. So it's really great for everyone.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. Joanna, just coming back to you, because we've got a question in the chat specifically for you. And obviously you can advise how you set yourself up, and then I'll talk a little bit about how Just IT advises employers to do so. But Lisa has asked, do you get an allocated time period per week to do apprenticeship work?
Yes, I do. So it's 20% on the job, off the job learning. So it equates to about a day a week. And my employers have been so supportive. I can't stress that enough, because they know that by me learning, they're going to get better data, better opportunities. So it's all to benefit the company, but me as a person. So they're very strict to ensure that I have that time. So I split my time. I have 90 minutes a day. So the first 90 minutes of every day is focused on learning. If I'm trying to write some code, or it's a bit more in depth, then I'll either take half a day or a day. You know, it's very flexible, but mostly it's the first 90 minutes, and then I know my learning's over for the day, and then I can really get stuck into some work in the later on. So that's what I do.
Okay. And just on that, for a bit more information. So when we're speaking to employers, whilst everything's done almost through the working environment, so there's no college attendance like apprenticeships used to be predominantly known for, we do advise sort of a day a week be allocated to ensure that the apprentice, whether it's like yourself, Joanna, who was working and then is upskilled, or whether it's a brand new hire, they have at least an hour a week, a day a week, where they can commit completely to the apprenticeship program. But every employer is different. So you mentioned it works for you 90 minutes. Some people like to go, I need a full day. Some people like, I want to do half a day, twice a week. It depends on what is best suited to that person. You know, some people might think just a day of studying and doing learning, just it would blow my mind, because in the background I can still see my emails going off. I can still see calendar requests coming through. So I think with regards to the setup, as long as there's that day allocated, regards to the setup, that's completely down to the apprentice, and obviously working with the company that they can support that too.
Absolutely. I've said to my 2 new apprentices, they need to do what's right for them and in the right circumstances, and I will fully support them, you know, whatever they decide to do, however it's best suits them, because the most important thing is that they feel comfortable learning. So definitely.
Amazing. And then just another question, sorry, that's just come through, is it's just asking about when looking for apprenticeships, do you just go to just ITs? Absolutely not. Look for all apprenticeships. This isn't just about just IT. Look at what type of apprenticeship you want, and then view all apprenticeships that are advertised. And also the advice I would give to people is think about the industry you want to work in. Like Jade and Joanna, you've pretty much been in, and Laura's yourself, been in the same industry pretty much throughout your career. Some people might know or think, oh, I'd love to join that company. I would like to go and work for that company, or I would love to be in the financial sector, or I'd like to be in the beauty industry. Have a look at the industry you want to work in as well, and have a look if there might be a particular company you want to work for. Go onto their website. They will advertise if they've got apprenticeships, and use LinkedIn to network. LinkedIn is a brilliant network tool, so use them as well. You know, most apprenticeships are advertised there, or again, the companies are on there. Follow them, have a look at them. So it's not just about looking at just IT. There's a host of providers who deliver this program, and there's a host of companies that do it direct as well. So again, like we were saying, almost put your net out there as wide as you possibly can, and see what opportunities are out there for you. So I hope that covered that question. Any other questions? No? So we've reached the end of our panelist. So we're going to put a poll up. Now, someone asked earlier, has everything gone really? Oh, it's gone there. I was just about to say yesterday we had a few technical issues with the poll, but it's there before I could even speak. So you're going to see the poll come up shortly. And this is about for ourselves to go away and find out what information that we need to, more we need to give. And again, so the panelists have sent links. We'll be speaking to them if there's any questions that come up or any further information. But the question is, and I can see a lot of people have already answered, do you feel more informed on how to start a career in data analyst following the webinar? So if anyone's thinking, it's great so far, because I did think yesterday, well, that's a bit awkward if they all said no, but so far we've gone to 100% yes. But if you, from this, you think, oh, that's brought this question to my mind, or what about this? There is a survey that we're putting in the chat as well. Please do fill in the survey. It allows us to to make things better. But also if there's any specifics you want there, please do put it in the survey, so then we can go back to our panel of experts and get further advice, so that we can keep people informed. So I think that is it, unless there's any other questions. So I just want to firstly say thank you so much to Jade, Joanna, Laura and Akua for taking your time out today and supporting this webinar, because it's your journeys and your stories are going to inspire people, inspire young women wanting to get into the tech industry. So I just want to say firstly, thank you so much for your support. And I do hope it's given people food for thought and help them in some way to make their next steps or first steps into data analyst. So thank you all very much. So we're shortly going to stop the recording, and it will be sent out to you in the coming days.